the schedule kind of put us both in a position where we were like, they're probably not good enough to make it just yet.
Overall, when you look at the other teams that we put in versus what they've done, I mean, their record is tied for the best in the league as we're recording this.
Yep. We're going to dive into our top 5, our power rankings for NBA teams so far in the season. It's very early to make these kinds of rankings and ratings without first saying that these are not an indication of who we believe the best team in the NBA is.
It's just right now.
This is just like right now who we look at and go, okay, well, right now they're the best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
But they won't finish the season up there, or they might, but yeah. Anyway, the point is that these are our interpretation of the current season rankings.
Correct.
Based off results so far, where the team's trending, and how everything looks, big picture. So let's start off with an honourable mention, a team that just missed the cut for us. We were actually talking about it up until a minute before the podcast. Indiana Pacers.
Yeah.
They have been really, really good, but the schedule kind of put us both in a position where we were like, they're probably not good enough to make it just yet.
Overall, when you look at the other teams that we put in versus what they've done, I mean, their record is tied for the best in the league as we're recording this.
Yep.
But yeah, they beat the Knicks, they beat the Bulls, they beat the Celtics in an exciting game. Sabonis had a game winner, but then they lost to the Celtics and they beat the Cavs. So 4 wins against, the Celtics are the outlier there. The Cavs have played well, but they're going to regress big time shortly. They've lost like 2-3 in a row since starting out undefeated.
Yeah.
They look great overall, the Pacers. I just wanted to give them some credit.
Oladipo's look good.
They'd be number 6, basically. Yeah. That's the point. Yep. But yeah, Oladipo's done really well. Sabonis is looking like a quicker Nikola Jokic.
Wow.
If Nikola Jokic had better foot speed. But Jokic...
That's a big call, but he has looked really good. Like his ability to create for his teammates is something that, everyone's talked about for years, but I think now we're going, he actually can. Like, he's doing it regularly. That was a big thing for Sabonis, was that consistency. He's averaging a double-double as well as 5 assists.
7 assists.
7. There you go, 7. Yeah. Even more than I thought. So I've been really happy with how they've played, and they just missed the cut, which is sad because I would have liked to see the Pacers there. Yeah. More East representation, which would have been nice.
Yeah.
All right, at number 5, who we got, Macca?
The Los Angeles Lakers.
Top 3, yeah.
They have the best net rating in the league.
Yep.
They lost to the Clippers opening night, but then they beat the Mavs, they beat the T-Wolves, and they beat the Spurs. They lost to the Blazers, but we have them in there because they're the Lakers. They would clearly beat the Pacers in a game or in multiple games in a row.
Yeah.
So just on that argument alone, the Lakers have to be in there. They've looked very cohesive, even though they've lost a couple games. They haven't been blown out yet. They've played competitive every single game. Davis hasn't even played every game.
Yeah.
So they're just getting things together, but they already look really good together.
They're still working out rotations, bringing in as many guys as they did. It's been really difficult for them to have Gasol and Harrell on the court.
Impossible almost.
Yeah, so... Yeah, they're just working out the rotations. I think, give it, another 2 weeks or so and they'll be fine. They'll be right back up in
they're going to skyrocket.
The top 3. Yep.
Exactly. Number 4. Who's number 4, Josh?
I got Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Brooklyn Nets. They're playing great. Overall, really, really good. Like, it's been really surprising to see how well they've actually played with, 2 new superstars on a team who haven't played together, just came together and knocked down shots day one. They've both been averaging pretty much exactly the same numbers.
Their stats are scary close.
There you go.
And we're going to talk about that a bit in the next segment, but they're killing it for sure.
I think the only thing that pulls them down the list is the defensive lapses. They were really poor against Charlotte, like really, really poor against Charlotte. So to have them, lose back-to-back against Charlotte and the Grizzlies is a blip on what's otherwise a really, really good start to the season.
I agree. Yeah, they beat the hell out of the Warriors in the season opener. Then they beat the Celtics, which was a pretty decent game. And they also beat the Hawks, which we talked about earlier. It was a fun game to watch. The only other thing I would say that brings them down is their record. And this is super early, small sample size, but they have a top 5 offense and defensive rating on both ends. Now, they have had the lapses like you talked about, and they should have beat the Grizzlies. They should have beat the Hornets.
Yeah.
I think the Hornets played much better than they actually are, but they showed their potential in that game.
Yep.
In an exciting game again.
And that was a really
offense.
good game for Hayward.
Yeah, they had 28.
Yeah, 28, 7 and 5 or something like that. It was, crazy stat line.
Good to see Gordo back at it.
But that shows his potential for the Hornets, who aren't in our top 5.
Nope.
But they deserve a mention after beating the Nets. They've actually had a couple of really good games. So, but yeah, the Nets are our number 4. Who we got at 3, Macca?
Philadelphia 76ers.
Which is surprising.
Playing good. 4-1. I was a bit surprised how quickly they've come out of the gates. They beat the Wizards, the Knicks, the Raptors, and the Magic, who the Magic have played pretty well as well. They have the 3rd best defensive rating in the league right now, which I was kind of expecting them to have a good defense because they have all the talent for that.
Yep.
And the coaching staff has really done a good job with that team.
Yep.
They're taking things more seriously this year, it feels like. Joel Embiid's not messing around too much.
I think that's the Doc Rivers effect.
I think so.
He's a really serious dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's just a professional dude.
Yeah.
He understands how to deal with his players for the most part. And I mean, Paul George is an exception to that rule, but nonetheless, he's done really well with that team. Changes might happen to the roster, but for now, it looks really good, honestly. Simmons is playing as a big guy who can handle the rock, obviously. He's not he's not a prototypical point guard by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But he is still their ball handler, but he's also playing the big spot on the other end. So they've kind of shifted things around a bit and they put him in a better position to be successful.
Yep.
And then, like you said, he's hitting threes or hit A3, hopefully.
A3.
Hopefully that becomes more consistent because it's super important for that team.
The fact that he ran to the corner to take a catch and shoot 3 is something he hasn't done his whole career. So he did it once. But, the fact that he actively ran to the corner to take a spot up 3 is a good sign for the 76ers.
Absolutely.
And I think the additions of Seth Curry, you can see how much attention he draws on offense. Furkan Korkmaz has been good off the bench.
Shake
Milton's been good off the bench. So just to get that rotation with shooters off the bench.
Dwight Howard. They have a good bench.
Lights out.
Yeah.
So to get them, a really good rotation has been one of their biggest issues for years. So getting rid of Brett Brown and bringing in, Doc Rivers has made a huge difference to the attitude, but also bringing in a new GM to change the rotation there has also made a huge difference.
Arguably the best GM and a GM with a lot of connections. Yeah. One of the smartest guys in the league. So good for them. Number 2, who we got?
Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
I've loved watching them. I think they're one of the most
for real this year.
Entertaining teams in the league.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges is the Bridges they have. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. I always get those 2 Bridges confused.
They are, I can see why. Their name is almost
Miles
exactly the same.
Micah Bridges?
Mikal, yeah.
Mikal, yeah. See? I just made up a 3rd one. But
Micah.
He's really, really good defensively, really long, super athletic, and he's really come a long way this year. Shooting, he's been tremendous. Really was the 3rd shooter that they needed on that roster.
Perfect fit.
Yeah, and Ayton has come a long way defensively this season, shown a huge amount of defensive impact.
Absolutely.
Could potentially end up in the Defensive Player of the Year rate
Interesting.
At the end of the year.
I think actually Mikal Bridges will be in that conversation ahead of Ayton, but
right.
both of them potentially because their defense is going to be top notch. I think it's a Chris Paul effect, honestly.
Yeah,
the level of just professionalism and
accountability too.
Exactly, it brings it to the table, and everybody else has to fall in line. And I think he'll actually mesh well with that team. Like he didn't rub James Harden quite the right way in that sort of relationship.
Yeah,
but Chris Paul is a better fit for this team, and he also has Monty Williams as the head coach, who they've worked together in the past. It's just a good fit. It's going to work out pretty well for them. Number 1 defensive rating in the league.
Yep.
Second best net rating behind the Lakers. They've had some impressive wins, to be honest. They've had a tougher schedule than, for example, the Pacers. The Suns are 4-1. They beat the Mavs, the Kings, the Pelicans, and the Jazz. They lost a game to the Kings, which is a bit of a blip, but the Suns, like
the Kings are a really good team.
Yeah, like, it's not to take away from the Kings.
Yeah, absolutely. That one loss, that Suns team, the Kings aren't, top 5, top 10, but they're there or thereabouts. They'll be pushing the playoff race in the West with the way that they've started the season too. So the Suns had a challenge there, and I think the Kings were just better on the night. It was nothing more than that. When Chris Paul finds his shot again, they'll go to another level. At the moment, he hasn't had to shoot because they're 4-1. He hasn't had to do anything other than find open guys and
facilitate.
Get good open shots.
Yeah.
And his assist numbers are really good, and defensive impact. Obviously, they went from one of the worst defensive teams in the league to one of the best, the best currently. So yeah, really impressed with the Suns so far.
Absolutely,
really impressed.
They're good to watch too, so keep an eye on Phoenix.
We have a surprising number 1, Macca. We have a surprising number 1.
I think, considering we just bashed them earlier.
Saying that they were the trash of the week.
Trash of the week, and they managed to jump to number 1 on the power ranking for teams. The Los Angeles, don't add us, please. The Los Angeles Clippers at 4-1. So despite the 51-point loss, they're honestly playing really good basketball.
Yep.
I can't say I'm a big Clipper fan for different reasons.
Same.
I don't want to get into it too much.
Yep.
But you have to give them credit. They're playing good basketball. Lou Williams came out and said that they're playing together. Ty Lue has them playing like trusting basketball, where everybody's accountable, everybody's on the same page. They look like they've taken things pretty seriously after what happened in the playoffs against Denver.
Yep.
As I said, they need to use it for motivation.
Yeah.
So I think they listened to our podcast and they went, wow, this is really hitting home.
Well, they obviously listened to our podcast because we saw what Terry Rozier did a couple of weeks ago, and he heard me say we're never going to see Scary Terry again. And since then, he's dunked on Kevin Durant, had a 40-piece, and just destroyed the league basically single-handedly.
Well, don't give away the player power rankings just yet.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Whoop. My bad.
Rewind. But yeah, Clippers, number 1. They beat the Lakers, Nuggets, T-Wolves, and the Blazers.
Yeah, really good wins.
And then, of course, the aforementioned 51-point blowout. But nonetheless, Kawhi looked
Small
okay.
blip. Just a little blip on an otherwise
Isn't that weird?
Really good start of the year.
It's just like win, destroyed. Oh, let's get back to winning again.
They were missing Kawhi. That's very important to mention. Paul George has had, a pretty good start to this season.
Consistent.
He needs to stay at that level. The game against the Mavs was absolutely
awful.
Atrocious.
Yeah.
But aside from that one game, that team has looked like the best team in the league to this point.
Agreed. Yeah. They are, they're on fire right now. And Kawhi looked pretty decent after coming back from the Ibaka elbow.
Yep.
And actually, just to shout out Ibaka, he's a really good fit on that team.
Yeah.
Much better fit than Zubac was in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Just stretching the floor. They basically play 5 out. And it's really working well for them.
Yep, because it gives Kawhi a lane.
And Paul George.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Beverly wants to handle the rock as well, we don't recommend it, but it can happen.
Please don't.
Yeah. That was the team's power rankings.
Let us know what you think. If you have your own power rankings, please leave them in the comments, or add us on social media and let us know what your power rankings are. These will change fortnightly. We will not do these weekly because it's too hard to have a week of basketball and then change your entire power rankings. I think 2 weeks is a better sample size. So that's our team power rankings for episode 6 of the Shootaround podcast.
Yeah.
Let's move on to players, Macca.
All right.
Who have you got at 5?